No, I'm not crying. You're crying.
You're right.
That was quite a conclusion. Spoiler alert as we dive headfirst into what the ending and post-credit scenes of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 mean for the Guardians and the MCU going forward.
Alright, Guardians. Let's go save the galaxy.
I said spoilers, right? The Guardians of the Galaxy are no more. After one last rip-roaring adventure, driven by the love these oddballs have all developed for each other, they all seem to have gone their separate ways. After Rocket was severely injured by Adam Warlock of the Sovereign, the rest of the Guardians, with the help of their old friend Gamora, went on a mission to save his life.
We're here to save the life of our friend.
We learned about Rocket's tragic backstory, which included a rabbit named Floor and a walrus named Teefs, who broke my heart more than most MCU characters ever could. However, at the end of the day, the Guardians succeeded, defeated the villain, saved their friend, freed a bunch of captive beings destined for experimentation, and despite a bunch of teases, everyone we love made it out alive. However, even though they all made it out safe and sound, unfortunately the Guardians we know are no more. They've all taken different paths, so let's dive into what each character's ending means for their future. Let's start with the villain of the film. Is there a possibility we see the re-emergence of the High Evolutionary? Look, I love Rocket as much as the next guy, but after seeing the real face of the High Evolutionary, I'm gonna be a lot more careful taking the trash out at night. Can't say it wasn't deserved though.
I learned my lessons.
The High Evolutionary will most likely not be returning. This is due to the fact that his body was aboard a ship that we all witnessed blow up. Rarely do people come back from that one, though there is a slight chance. However, the bigger implications going forward revolve around the absence of the High Evolutionary. As was stated, many civilizations in corners of the galaxy consider the High Evolutionary their god and creator. This includes the Sovereign, Adam Warlock's people. These nations are now free and likely under the protection of the new Guardians of the Galaxy, as they learn to fend for themselves out from underneath the boot of a tyrant and madman like the High Evolutionary. Drax and Nebula, the world's perhaps oddest couple. Drax and Nebula were among the members of the Guardians who decided to take a step back from the team. Nebula, after helping free many of the creatures from the High Evolutionary's grasp aboard his ship, decided to stay behind to help build Nowhere into a civilization that could help the many children freed have a normal life. This was especially due to the fact that this was something she never had. Her life with Thanos brought only torture and violence, robbing her of a childlike innocence, which is safe to say led to her less than stellar mood most of the time. However, she's only one half of the coin that could possibly help build a new civilization, and she needs a more loving, fatherly touch. This is why she asked Drax to join her. He proved that he has a way of connecting with kids like he used to with his daughter. While he may have incredible super strength, his childlike innocence makes him the perfect parent. Together, Drax and Nebula will likely build Nowhere into a new and thriving civilization in the galaxy. Mantis is one of those characters who's never really been on their own journey of self-discovery. Sure, we saw around the Christmas holiday her attempt to actually connect with the only family she has left in the form of Starlord, and she definitely did that successfully. But Mantis's reason for leaving the Guardians is that she's never had sole autonomy of what she's doing. Her whole life she was a slave to ego, and since she met the Guardians, she's really felt like a passenger just following along on their journeys. Luckily, with her 3 new obelisk friends at her side, she should be quite safe as she goes on to explore the galaxy in her own time and discover what it is she needs to figure out. Mantis, however, in the comics is sometimes a much more powerful being, so I don't think a return from Mantis is anywhere out of the question. Ah, Gamora. What a tragic tale. This version of Gamora that we saw is not the same one who died in Avengers Endgame. That was made evident by the film, as Peter continually attempted to get her to remember something she did not actually live through. When this Gamora left at the end of Endgame, the hole in her life that was filled by the Guardians of the Galaxy back in 2014 was instead filled by the new Ravager family led by Stakaro Gord. Seemingly taking the place of Yondu, we learn at the end of the film that Gamora actually did find her family. She was always destined to make that connection. Only in this new timeline, the Ravagers were actually at the same level in their heroic journeys that she was at, while the Guardians were years beyond it. Gamora will continue to travel the galaxy with the original Guardians of the Galaxy from the comics. Who knows if we will ever see her again, or if space adventures with the iconic team will take her elsewhere. On to the post-credit scenes, as they give us some of the best looks at our favorite characters, and what they could possibly be doing going forward. The first mid-credit scene gives us a look at the new official Guardians of the Galaxy. They include a young girl whose superpower seems to be able to run on a wheel for 2 hours without breaking a sweat. In addition, we have Cosmo the Space Dog, a young Adam Warlock, Kraglin, who has recently mastered the Yaka Arrow, and of course King Groot, who has grown to the biggest we have seen him yet. All these led by their fearless leader, Rocket Raccoon, who has gone through perhaps the greatest transformation from when they started. This is the best possible situation for Rocket, given that he started as a supposedly failed experiment meant to be thrown away, building his way up to deservedly being named the leader of the most famous super team in the galaxy is probably the sweetest end he could have. I hope we will see the Guardians again. But then again, that's not what the insert person will return tag said. No, instead the second post-credit scene told us who would be returning, and that is none other than the legendary Starlord. We see Starlord eating breakfast with his long-time coming reunited grandfather, while he reads about Kevin Bacon's alien abduction mumbo-jumbo. There's no real information in this scene, other than Starlord is apparently mowing some neighbor's lawn for some brownie points. But instead, the reality comes with the final title, that the legendary Starlord will return. How? There are definitely a couple of ways. He could join an Earthbound version of the Avengers. Perhaps Rocket will call him back in a time of need to rejoin the Guardians. Or maybe Starlord will be one of many, many heroes called upon when the multiverse finally cracks. Regardless, the only thing we know for sure is we will see him again. The Guardians of the Galaxy are no more, but truthfully, they are eternal. And yes, that's just an unfortunate play on words. Now that they've gone their separate ways, which member of the Guardians do you think will have the biggest impact in the MCU going forward?